Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Friday, August 12, 2023. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, broadcasting live on the Black Star Network, live from the Harambe Room in Birmingham, where I'm going to be having a book signing later regarding white fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. And we see how white folks in Florida are losing their mind. We will talk with the Chief of Staff of the state's attorney, Monique Worrell, who has been fired. Remember, Monique Worrell was suspended by Governor Ron DeSantis. The person who he put in place of the state's attorney fired her chief of staff. She's going to join us to talk about the drama that's happening in Florida. Speaking of drama, the attorney for some of the dancers who's accusing Lizzo sexual harassment, they're going to join us on the show as well to unravel these allegations. Also, Lansing, Michigan police say a black teen was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was taking out the trash and he was stopped and handcuffed. Sound like an episode of the show Swagger, huh? Also, folks, we'll be talking about, of course, continue to talk about what's happening in Montgomery. It's up the road from where we are in Birmingham. It's still the talk of the country, and so we'll have the latest as well. It is time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, I'm here at the Harambe Room in Birmingham, where in less than an hour, I am going to be having a book signing for my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. As you can see, folks are getting the whole place set up. And so if you're Birmingham, come on out. It is free and open to the public. Of course, we ask folks to RSVP to make sure that you get a copy of your book, info@RolandSMartin.com. So I'm going to be here from 6 to 8 Central. So if you're in the Birmingham area, come on out. Can't wait to see you here at the Harambe Room. Let's start off talking about what's happening in Florida, folks. Just ridiculous. Remember, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis suspended state's attorney Monique Worrell because he felt that she was not prosecuting folks enough. So what did he do? He put in place a judge to be the state's attorney, an African-American judge. Well, he's come in and fired Worrell's top 2 deputies and literally walked them out the door when she was replaced. Now he's fired the chief of staff to Monique Worrell, which is absolutely crazy. She's been actually out on leave. Law enforcement literally visited her home. That's how she found out that she was fired. Joining us right now is Keisha Mulfort, who was the former chief of staff to Monique Worrell. She joins us right now. Glad to have you here. So, I mean, this is absolutely crazy. So you were not in the office when this took place a couple of days ago, correct?
That's correct. I've been out on FMLA since May 30th. I just had a...
you said FMLA. So
yeah.
For folks who don't know what that is, explain that.
So I just had a baby, so the federal government allows me time to stay home with my child and, bond with my child and nurse my child. And while I was out, I was fired. And this is supposed to be a protected... Protected.
Right. My understanding, when you're on FMLA, they can't move against you. They can't fire you. So you literally were fired?
So deputies, armed law enforcement officers, deputies from the Orange County Sheriff's Office came to my home with armed investigators from our office, and they wanted me to give them passwords that they already had to social media and to provide them with access to social media. They wanted me to transfer. I created all of our social media pages, so they wanted me to give them my phone so they could transfer everything over. And they left a sheet of paper, and on the sheet of paper, that's how I found out I was terminated. No one verbally told me I was terminated. I found out with the document that they left at my home. So
this Andrew Bain, he is the person DeSantis appointed, he made the decision to fire you.
That is correct. And so Andrew Bain.
You weren't called. Let's be clear. You weren't called. They left you a sheet of paper. They didn't even say. They didn't explain it to you. They just simply left a sheet of paper and you read it. That's how you found out.
Ryan Williams, the person who lost to State Attorney Monique Worrell in 2020, is his number 2. Ryan Williams called me on Wednesday requesting social media passwords. I asked Ryan if he were asking me to perform work duties while I was out on FMLA. I received an email about 45 minutes later from General Counsel demanding I contact Ryan Williams by 9 o'clock a.m. Thursday morning. An attorney reached out to them to let them know, contact me, I will work everything out. No communication with my attorney, no communication with me. 4 o'clock, I'm nursing my daughter, and they're at my home telling me to come outside.
Wait, I'm sorry. So, first of all, how many law enforcement officers showed up at your home?
So there was a new public information officer, 2 sworn investigators from the office, and 2 armed deputies from the Orange County Sheriff's Office. So 4 law enforcement officials came to my home.
So 5 people in total came to your home. They come to your home and they asked you to step outside?
Well, they asked me to bring my phone so that they can go in my phone and switch over everything. So they're still operating under the guise as if I'm still under FMLA. So they're like, if you can't do it, we will do it. This entire time, I had been terminated the day before.
Right. So, but what I'm saying is, it's not like they knocked on your door and they said, Ms. Mulfort, this is who we are. Can we please come in and talk with you? They didn't do that.
No.
They asked you to step outside. What happened? They treat you like.
They asked me to come to the door. So I was upstairs. And I was not going to come downstairs. I was nursing. So I was like, no, you need to contact my attorney. So they continued to ask me to come down.
Wow. So are they talking to you on the phone, on the ring? So how are they communicating with you?
So when they were communicating with a friend, and then I came down. When I came down, I just saw the 3 people from the office who I knew. And then following that, once I told them that they needed to reach out to my attorney if they desired anything from me, that's when the law enforcement officers from the sheriff's office came from around the corner. They were hiding. One of them being extremely antagonistic, telling me that an attorney doesn't matter. An attorney doesn't matter in this situation. I tell them I'm home with my 10-week-old daughter. He tells me that that doesn't excuse the fact that you need to give them their social media rights or property or whatever he said.
I saw a post earlier today on social media showing that they have created a new website for the office, and they said the site was registered back in January.
So that was our website. I worked with our MIS team. That was the State Attorney Monique Worrell's website that we were going to roll out, and we had not had an opportunity to roll out. They've since gone in and they've made changes to that website. But that is a website that we were supposed to be moving to while we were still in office.
So just to be clear, so Monique Worrell beats this guy, Ryan Williams. My understanding, he came in 4th, and he's now the number 2 in charge. So he couldn't beat her, so he was lying in wait, and DeSantis has put the person who she beat in charge.
That is accurate information. Ryan Williams had about 9,000 votes in his third bid at running for state attorney. Yes.
Let's talk about Andrew Bain. So he has canceled all of the diversionary programs that Worrell had in place. I saw a tweet from Nikki Barnes saying he actually campaigned and ran on those same programs for judge.
I went to law school at FAMU with Andrew Bain. To say this is disappointing is beyond me. Andrew Bain not only ran on that platform, there's records of it. There are records of him talking about the diversion programs. He also infiltrated the Black and Brown events, the Black and Brown community, so that we could support him and with the emphasis that we only had one black male on a bench. So despite, anything that, like, we gave him, like, okay, he had his first go round, it was rough. So we were giving him another chance. He infiltrated these events. He said the correct words. He was trying to convince us that, he had changed and he was going to do right, and the community supported him. This is the same person who on April 1st was at my baby shower. He came to my baby shower and didn't even say, Keisha, I can't keep you because DeSantis doesn't want you or anything. This is someone who I've gone out with him, State Attorney Monique Worrell, like we've done events with him, community events, our Bring a Child to Work Day. We invite him in. We invited him to our office for several opportunities, and this is the man who betrayed us.
Wow. Have you talked to other staffers in the office who are still there? Are they afraid that they're going to get fired as well? Anybody who was supportive of Monique Worrell is going to be canned?
It seems that people are extremely afraid that they will be terminated, yes. And wow. I don't know how it's going to happen. We already had a staffing shortage. I don't know how they do that and still protect the community, but it's going to be a problem that they're going to have to figure out.
So what is next steps for you? I mean, obviously, do you plan to sue them? Again, everything that I know about Family Medical Leave Act, they can't terminate you when you're on Family Medical Leave Act.
So I'm going to let the legal team figure that out, see what my options are, and we're going to go from there.
And just like Monique Worrell, here you are with a 10-week-old baby, and now you have no source of income.
And no health insurance. My child hasn't even received all of her shots that she needs. So in this pro-life state.
So by being fired, your insurance is cut off immediately?
No, it will be gone within the next month and a half.
Unbelievable.
I lose it next month, and I haven't even finished with her shots or anything. I will lose it next month.
Ms. Mulfort, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Keep us abreast of what happens next.
Thank you.
Going to a break. We'll talk about this with my panel on the flip side. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network, live from Birmingham, Alabama.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance.
We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes, the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion and the subsequent trial of Tory Lanez. Megan has been treated like the villain. The experience that Megan went through is something that all black women face when we are affected by violence. This is something that's called misogynoir.
There's a long history of characterizing black women as inherently bad in order to justify our place in the society.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes.
Hello, I'm Marissa Mitchell, a news anchor at Fox 5 DC.
Hey, what's up? It's Sammy Roman, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Unfiltered. I'm here at the Harambe Room in Birmingham. Well, I'm going to have a book signing here for my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. If you're in Birmingham, well, guys, pull the book up. There you go. If you're in Birmingham, come on out, 6 to 8 p.m. We have a Q&A, Roy Johnson with AL.com, my homeboy. It's going to be the first 45 minutes. Then we have the book signing as well. So love to see y'all to come on out in Birmingham. And, of course, if you're at home and you haven't gotten the book, you can do so. You can get a copy of the book in all available platforms. Of course, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Target, Books A Million. Also, download the audio version on Audible. My panel today, Michael Imhotep, host the African History Network show. He's out of Detroit. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi, Texas. Teresa Lundy, principal founder of TML Communications out of Philadelphia. Matt, I got to start with you. I mean, this shows you the vindictiveness, the pettiness, how shameful and disgraceful Governor Ron DeSantis is. And they have been plotting this. Worrell was elected by nearly 67% of the vote. She crushed all of her opponents. And he says, oh, this is to protect Central Floridians. They voted for her. And then you fire her top 2 deputies and you fire her chief of staff who's on Family Medical Leave Act. That's an automatic lawsuit.
Yeah, it's to me, it's insane that they went that route, number one. And it's also insane that the state of Florida has the power vested in the governor to undo elections. As I've mentioned on the show before, I'm representing our local DA in a very similar situation where under Texas law, he's facing a lawsuit to be removed. He's a part of a group of progressive prosecutors across the country who have come in with diversionary programs and other things intended to make life better for citizens. Irrespective of all of that, the idea that a governor can not like what you're doing, can castigate you, and then just remove you from duly elected office should terrify all of us, because democracy and federalism beyond democracy is important to have a check on unchecked power, i.e. Ron DeSantis. So the idea that in Florida you can just dislike somebody, you can come up with, aspersions about their data, you can lie about it, then you can remove them and they don't have any real recourse, nor do the voters, is a huge problem. Because when you're dictatorial, like Ron DeSantis is, and when you're trying to vie for maybe a vice presidency now because your presidential bid is obviously in the trash can, then it becomes obvious that you'll take whatever measure you can to advance your policy. And that's really what should be the scariest part of this. Now, Ms. Mulfort and all of the people who are, collateral damage to that, I feel for greatly, and I hope she's victorious in her lawsuit, and I anticipate they didn't think through how to attack this with her discrete employment issue. But the larger conversation is, how do you have it where people are casting votes in an election and one person can decide they don't like the victor of that election and remove him or her? Right. That really does not bode well for democracy.
Teresa, look, they could show up and they can say, hey, we know you're on Family Medical Leave Act. We need the passwords, things along those lines. All right. You know what? The law is a law. Bain is now taking over. You can do that. But to hand her a letter saying she's fired, I mean, this is basic law. You don't do that to somebody who's on FMLA. And how in the hell do you call yourself pro-lifers when you got a black woman who just had a baby, 10 weeks old, and you fire her, no health care, she's going to lose that. I mean, these people are evil.
Governor DeSantis is staying on message. We have seen these same unfortunate tactics, and it's just gotten worse. Monique is a friend, and, I'm definitely praying for this situation. But I know also the real understanding here is that we have a governor who is basically telling the public that I am willing to do whatever in order to get to the next point in public office. We all know, Mike Pence decided he wasn't going to overturn an election, and Ron DeSantis basically proved to his base, his fundraising base, that this is one of the things he is willing to do. As governor, he's showing you what he's going to do as president. He has a failing campaign. He has a failing, governorship. And so, unfortunately, the people that are being, prosecuted in this process is the ones that are actually doing the work, is the real change agents. And so I'm not really surprised, but it is unfortunate. And I think, to my brother's point, it is, a smack in democracy. As we, talk about week after week, month after month, year after year, about how important elections are. This has been not only a wake-up call only in Florida, these individuals have been trying to do the same thing with the same progressive district attorney, DA that we have in Philadelphia over, into the Supreme Court. But because elections matter and we have a Democratic governor that is focused on making sure that the rights of people are not only protected, but also, keep us safe, here in this country. So again, Monique is dealing with an uphill battle, but I'm also very happy that, Ron DeSantis is doing exactly what Ron DeSantis do. And the reason why I say that is because as we look at a holistic approach of how do we get these insane politicians out who are only looking for greed and power in areas that affect people of color and affect the entire minority, we already see the issue at hand that needs to be changed.
Mike, I want to go back to one of the points that Matt was making here, and that is one person decides, I don't like your policies, you're out. Georgia also, Republicans there passed a law allowing to do the exact same thing. This is what Republicans do. They don't believe all this crap about big government, big brother. No, they only care about that when they are not in charge. And so for him to sit here and to say, well, she wasn't following the law, she has the discretion to determine what she prosecutes. Voters chose that. He's saying, the hell with you voters, I'm the one who decides what happens in this state. This is beyond shameful.
Yeah, Roland, is beyond shameful, but it's even worse because Andrew Bain is a member of the Federalist Society. So once I found that out, everything else pretty much fell in the law. He's an African-American man, but he's a member of the Federalist Society. So he is aiding and abetting this takeover that Governor Ron DeSantis is doing. This is straight out of white supremacy. And it's not surprising coming from Ron DeSantis. The Andrew Gillum tried to warn us in 2018. Okay, unfortunately, not a lot of people listened in Florida to stop Governor DeSantis when Andrew Gillum said, I'm not saying he's a racist, I'm saying the racists believe he's a racist. So, she definitely has a lawsuit here. It sounds like a definite violation of the Family Medical Leave Act, Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA. But something else that I found out from Florida 24 when they ran their story on this. Now, the state Senate has the final vote. The state Senate in Florida has the final vote. But they said, the head of the state Senate said that they would not investigate Governor Ron DeSantis' executive order until Keisha Mulfort has exhausted all of her legal options, which, I mean, is that proper protocol, Roland, or anybody, Matt? Is that proper protocol to wait until she's exhausted her legal options for the state Senate to investigate?
Hell no, it's just Florida making up as they go along. That's what Florida's doing.
Yeah, and now this shows the power of the state legislature, which is also a check on the governor. Okay, and we know the state legislature, we know is dominated by Republicans, controlled by Republicans. But you go back to 2018 when Desmond Meade and others got the initiative on the ballot to restore voting rights to over 1 million former felons in Florida. Then that passed about 66% of the vote, something like this, right? Which goes back to, just so people understand, Florida's 1868 state constitution, which created the felony disenfranchisement law in the first place, where you lost your right to vote because you had a felony, and it was targeting African Americans, former slaves. But then the state legislature comes back and adds another law saying you have to pay all your fines and restitution, things like this. They put all these other stipulations because they are afraid of African Americans voting. They fear our political power. This is why this is a battle over power. And these crazy people, we have to vote out of office, even if they're African American.
Folks, y'all can sit here and talk about voting is not important. Then this is the kind of crap that happens. Hold tight 1 second. We come back. Lizzo has been hit with some serious sexual harassment allegations from her former dancers. We'll talk to one of their attorneys next, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Question question for you. Are you stuck? Do you feel like you're hitting a wall and it's keeping you from achieving prosperity? Well, you're not alone. On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, you're going to learn what you need to do to become unstuck and unstoppable. The fabulous author Janine K. Brown will be with us sharing with you exactly what you need to do to finally achieve the level of financial success you desire through your career.
Because when I talk about being bold in the workplaces, I'm talking about that inner boldness that you have to take a risk, to go after what you want, to speak up when others are not.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The United States is the most dangerous place for a woman to give birth among all industrialized nations on the planet. Think about that for a second. That's not all. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in this country during childbirth than white women.
These healthcare systems are inherently racist. There are a lot of white supremacist ideas and mythologies around black women, black women's bodies, even black people, that we experience painless, right?
Activist, organizer, and fearless freedom fighter Monique Akinwole Bandele from Moms Rising joins us and tells us this shocking phenomenon, like so much else, is rooted in unadulterated racism. And that's just one of her fights. Monique Bandele on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Coles.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
Yo, it's your man Deion Cole from Blackish, and you watch
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Hey, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. I'm here live at the Harambe Room in Birmingham. And again, at 6 o'clock local time, 7 o'clock Eastern, I'm going to be hosting my White Fear book signing. White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. It is open to the public. Be sure to come on out. Love to have you guys here. It's free to open to the public. You can also RSVP at info@RolandSMartin.com. All right, folks, several former dancers for the entertainer Lizzo are suing her for creating what they call a toxic work environment. The dancers, Ariana Davis, Crystal Williams, and Noel Rodriguez, claim that Lizzo forced them to participate in demanding auditions, subjected them to a, quote, sexually charged, uncomfortable environment, and pressured them to engage in inappropriate behavior. Now, 6 additional claims from former employees who worked on her reality series Watch Out for the Big Girls have come forward with allegations of harassment and failure to pay employees. Joining me from L.A. is Niama Ramani and Ron Zambrano. They're representing some of the dancers. Glad to have both of you here. First and foremost, let me do this here. Lizzo released a statement on her Instagram denying these allegations. Quote, "These last few days have been gut-wrenchingly difficult and overwhelmingly disappointing. My work ethic, morals, and respectfulness have been questioned. My character has been criticized. Usually, I choose not to respond to false allegations, but these are as unbelievable as they sound and too outrageous not to be addressed. These sensationalized stories are coming from former employees who have publicly admitted if they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional. As an artist, I've always been very passionate about what I do. I take my music and my performances seriously because at the end of the day, I only want to put out the best art that represents me and my fans. With passion comes hard work and high standards. Sometimes I have to make hard decisions, but it's never my intention to make anyone feel uncomfortable or like they aren't valued as an important part of the team." Again, that was a statement from Lizzo. Niama and Ron. She says that some of these folks were say their behavior on tour was unprofessional. Was that the case? Was this written? Do you have any documentation or anything of sort that this was the case?
Well, one of the plaintiffs was actually resigned. So the statement was really tone deaf. It was very lack of empathy, and it's also inaccurate. I mean, if anybody had read the lawsuit, carefully, they were saying like, oh, one of the plaintiffs actually quit. And she's the one with the most decorated resume. That was Noelle Rodriguez. She danced with Beyonce. She's danced with Pink. Her resume, Janet, she's danced with a lot of people, and she's the one that saw what was going on. That is the basis of this lawsuit. She said, you know what, this is crazy, and I'm leaving. So the statement didn't address that.
There are a number of allegations made in terms of behavior, fat shaming, things along those lines. Do your clients have any of this documented? Video, audio? Did any of them make complaints to HR? They have any documentation of while this was ongoing?
So they made complaints to the management, but the management was enabling what was happening. Nothing is writing because you work with these people on a day-to-day basis. But no, nothing is in writing as far as complaints are concerned.
So when you say they made complaints, so those were verbal complaints. It's not like they say, you know what, let's create a paper trail. They didn't actually send emails. They didn't actually send text messages. Everything was verbal?
Yeah.
Well, Roland, you got to realize these are plus-size women of color. This was their dream job. There's not a lot of opportunities for them to dance in Hollywood. So, this isn't a Fortune 500 company where you have an HR and a CEO and things are documented. You have an entertainer who is discriminating against her dancers based on their religion, their medical condition, their race, and taking them to sex shows. So it's not your typical type situation where you have, employment lawyers and HR and everything's on the up and up.
Oh, no, I understand that. But if someone is feeling uncomfortable in making complaints, typically what they might do is they might text friends. They might share with other people. And so what I'm saying is, did they do any of this to be able to
there's plenty of witnesses, yes. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. There's plenty of witnesses that are going to corroborate our clients' stories, and they're contacting us every single day. I thought you were asking, was there a direct written complaint to Lizzo or her management team? And in fact, when Ariana Davis tried to record one of the meetings, it was Lizzo and her security that cornered her in a room and made her delete that recording and make sure that it was. So, this is a situation where Lizzo and her team didn't want any evidence, didn't want anything to be recorded. And that was an absolute no-no as far as her camp was concerned.
To supplement that, her and her team confiscated all the phones for all the dancers right before they made everybody go through their phones. So in that kind of environment, what can you really do? What are you safe to do?
You talked about religious. You brought up religious persecution, I believe. How so? Explain that.
So when it comes to that, it comes to whether the dance captain, which is for our world, it'd be like the manager of the entire team for the dancers, and she was very outspoken about her religious beliefs, not just that hey, God is good, and let's pray, just generally, and things that are day-to-day conversations. She was very, very adamant about certain tenets. She was very, very adamant that they talk about them. If you disagreed with them, she would refer to you as a non-believer.
I'm sorry. What was her religion? Was she Christian, Muslim? Was she? I'm just curious.
She was Christian, and she would apparently she had a Bible in her purse all the time. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. And so you're saying that when she would express her faith and her religion, then she would get pushback. It would be shamed because of it?
Yeah. And again, these are subordinates who are pushing back, or just not even pushing back, just like, I really don't want to talk about this at work. And then that would create the tension, and she would be very open and vocal, like, oh, you're a non-believer. I got to make sure to convert you. I'm going to keep an eye on you. Things that no one should be going through in the workplace.
You mentioned also being forced to attend sex shows. Again, so the allegations, they were forced to do so, and was it a requirement? Did any of your clients say, I don't want to do this, I'm not comfortable, I don't want to go, and what were they told?
Well, look, let me explain why these laws exist, right? I can't ask my subordinate out on a date because of the disparity in power, and I'm putting them in a position where they can't say no. These laws, sexual harassment laws, protect the little people against their employer. So when Lizzo invites you out to a sex show and says, I need a count of who's coming and are you in or out? And she's alleged to have favored the people who are in. Well, what are you going to do when your boss asks you to do something? You want to keep your job. You want to stay in her good graces. Then you go to the sex show, and there's dildos and vaginas and bananas and vaginas. And, there's a male security guard who's getting naked and whipped. This is completely inappropriate behavior for any work environment.
Right. So but what I'm asking is, did your clients, and I totally understand when you're in a situation where you feel as if you have no choice. What I'm asking is, have your clients said to you, did they ever say, I don't want to go, this makes me uncomfortable, I don't like this? Was that ever conveyed to Lizzo and her staff?
Yeah, so when they were invited, they didn't say no. But then the sex show happens. There's naked performers. Lizzo is chanting the name of one of our clients, Ari, Ari. And she's saying, listen, I'm not comfortable touching the naked performers. She says, I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to do it. The chant continues, and she feels compelled to put her hands on the breasts of one of the naked female performers.
Got it. Questions from our panel. Matt Manning, I want to start with you, civil rights attorney. Go right ahead.
Yeah, my question for you, gentlemen, is just what your thought is as it relates to future damages or like lost wages, because one of the things you said, Niyama, that stuck out to me is these are dancers that presumably don't have the same opportunity, with a lot of other artists. So is that a part of your damage model? How are y'all addressing that aspect of it?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the lost wages are a major item of damages, the emotional distress, and really, this is our civil system of justice. I can't do an eye for an eye or force Lizzo to eat a dirty banana. It's just, we can only get damages, and that's really going to be up to a judge and jury. And Lizzo's come out. She's denied these allegations. She's doubled down on it. So we look forward to exposing the truth in a courtroom in a very public way.
Teresa, you're a communications specialist. This obviously is the kind of negative attention no one wants, but you also now have a legal issue.
Yeah, since I've heard of this case, there has been a lot of the dancers doing a whole bunch of PR about this case. And Lizzo finally, presented a statement. Here in Philadelphia, we actually had a concert, Made in America, and that was headlined by Lizzo, and it was canceled. Just curious, did you guys know if that had anything related to this case that, canceled the concert?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we know what's been reported publicly. Jay-Z, his kids go to my school, so maybe I can ask him the next time I see him. Reportedly, the Super Bowl today, the Daily Mail reported that they're no longer considering Lizzo. So, look, I'm not surprised. When we signed this case and I told our clients that it may get some attention, I told them it's going to go one of two ways. Either Lizzo's going to come out, apologize, try to make things right, and maybe there'll be some sort of resolution. Or she's going to deny everything and, she's hired Marty Singer. We've litigated against him before. We're litigating against him in other cases. Small legal community there in Hollywood. So, it's going to go in a very different direction, and it's going into a litigation trial direction, and it's our job to prove our case. But fortunately, because of the attention, a lot of folks have come forward. Many, many people that want to be witnesses or clients. And, usually when people are harassers, there's not one or two or three. It doesn't matter whether you're a rich old white man in Hollywood or someone like Lizzo. There's usually a lot of victims, and they're all coming out in support of our clients. So that's something that I'd probably expect, cancellations like this to continue in the future.
You said many are coming forward. 6, 10, 12, more than a dozen?
I'd say we're getting on average about one new person a day, and those people are giving me new numbers to call. And each time I hear the same thing from the same, not the same folks, but the same. The first thing they say is, "What's in the lawsuit? We saw ourselves," and then they tell me their own experience. And it's, even though I've heard it probably 10 times, each time I'm shocked just because of who Lizzo is publicly.
Gotcha, Michael.
Well, these are shocking allegations. I've been following the story a little bit. My question to the attorneys: so, what has been the response to you from Lizzo's legal team? okay? And have they, any of the allegations that you have made, have they confirmed any of those allegations? What's happened so far regarding her legal team? I read her statement, but her legal team.
Yeah, there's been no direct communication, just that it's a sham, it's a scam, it's specious, just the denials that you see. You know, look, I was a prosecutor for years, and I've handled cases on the civil side. And, you know, whether you're a civil or criminal defendant, you can be the former president or Lizzo. A lot of people deny the allegations once they come out. So that's all we've heard, nothing but denials. And that's only emboldened our clients to move forward and push this case to trial.
It's also emboldened other people to come forward. I'll tell you that a lot of people that have called me said, I would not have called you had it not been for Lizzo's really poor response.
Okay, thank you.
Last question for both of you. Do you anticipate adding any new complainants to this lawsuit?
Well, hopefully. You know, there's some folks that have come forward, they want to remain anonymous. You know, they're worried about their future in Hollywood. There are people that are willing to be witnesses. There's people that have claims, but they're outside the statute of limitations. They're a little bit older. And there's people that have actionable claims within the statute. We're going to investigate them. We're going to verify them. And if so, we're going to add them to this lawsuit.
All right. Gentlemen, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to talk a story out of Michigan. Black kid taking the trash out. Cops detain him. Then they say, oh, my bad. A scene straight out of the Apple Plus, TV Plus show Swagger. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't be sure to download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. You can also support us, the work that we do, by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do. Send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And, of course, be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, The Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide, Books A Million, Target. Download your copy on Audible. Buy a copy on Amazon as well. Don't forget, folks, and I'm here in Birmingham, and we're going to be having in the next hour my book signing, discussion of the book White Fear. If you're in Birmingham, come on out with the Harambe Room. Again, we'll be here from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. So come on out, get a signed autographed copy of the book. Don't forget, you can also check out the Black Star Network on our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week streaming channel, available on Amazon. So just simply go to Amazon Fire, go to Amazon News, and check it out. If you have Alexa, say, Alexa, play the Black Star News from the Black Star Network. And we're also now available on Plex TV. You can check us out there as well. And lastly, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button right now, folks. We want to easily be over 1,000 likes. We want to end the show with 2,000 likes. I'll be right back.
On the next A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking all things mental health and how helping others can help you. We all have moments where we have struggles, and on this week's show, our guests demonstrate how helping others can also help you. Why you should never stop giving and serving others on a next A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The United States is the most dangerous place for a woman to give birth among all industrialized nations on the planet. Think about that for a second. That's not all. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in this country during childbirth than white women.
These healthcare systems are inherently racist. There are a lot of white supremacist ideas and mythologies around Black women's bodies, even Black people, that we experience painless, right?
Activist, organizer, and fearless freedom fighter Monique Akinwole Bandele from Moms Rising joins us and tells us this shocking phenomenon, like so much else, is rooted in unadulterated racism. And that's just one of her fights. Monique Bandele on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
I'm for YG. Jackie Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder Disney Plus, and I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Folks, a crazy story out of Lansing, Michigan. Young black teen taking the trash out. Cops say he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Really? The now viral video shows a young black male wearing neon yellow shorts and a white T-shirt being handcuffed by a police officer. A man tells officers they are traumatizing his son. The teen was placed into a police vehicle before being released to the man who said he was the young man's father. Police say it was, quote, an unfortunate misunderstanding. The incident stemmed from a foot chase of a suspect wanted in a suspected vehicle theft. The police department posted this statement on their Facebook page. They said, and again, we've seen this before, we are aware of a video circulating social media. We want to provide some background information on this unfortunate misunderstanding. On Thursday afternoon, our officers were investigating a string of Kia thefts, including a specific one reported on the 3600 block of West Jolly Road with multiple suspects. A witness described a suspect as wearing neon shorts and a white shirt. A responding officer saw a subject matching this description and attempted to make contact, but the subject fled and ran west into the nearby apartment complex. A different officer was in the area and saw the young man pictured in the viral video wearing a very similar outfit and made contact with him. The initial officer was able to respond and clarify the young man in the video was not the suspect who fled earlier. Once this information was obtained, the young man was released and officers continued to search the area. We are including pictures of both individuals. We have blurred both photos to protect the identities of the subjects. Community relations is a top priority for us as a department from top down. Our hope is we can put this unfortunate case of wrong place, wrong time behind us and continue to represent the community that we serve. Here's the problem, Michael. If you're the young man, you can't just put it behind you, being handcuffed, placed into a police vehicle. Look, I've never been, look, I remember 4 o'clock in the morning, there was a triple murder in Grand Prairie, Texas. I'm racing to the scene, and there's nobody on the street. I get pulled over by the cops, and then, so they take me to the station. I'm never actually arrested, I think it was fingerprinted, but there was a shift change, and I was actually placed in the holding cell. I was pissed, and it was all because I had previously paid off a ticket, and they hadn't updated. Trust me, when I got out of there, I went right to the Arlington court and cussed a whole bunch of folks out. I'm still pissed that happened. I'm still pissed I was fingerprinted. Now, I've never been handcuffed. I've never been put into a holding cell. But imagine if you're a young black kid and you go through this. You just can't just easily put this behind you and go, my bad.
Roland, and I did see some of the video, and I read the article that MSN.com has, and the father of the teenager was telling the officers that you're traumatizing my son. We do understand that mistaken identity can happen, but what is important is how those officers on the scene respond to someone who they think is the suspect. Okay, so hopefully we'll get more details here, and I know that according to the Lansing Police according to the police department, the suspect and this teen, who appears to be totally innocent from what they're saying, were wearing similar clothing. But I would like to get more information from the father about what he felt was specifically was traumatizing the son as well, because, at the same time, I think videos like this, if they're used properly, they can show you what not to do. They can show officers what not to do also. So hopefully this young man gets the type of counseling that he needs as well, and hopefully we get to the bottom of this and find out the truth.
Matt, is there a suit here? Is there an action this family could take against the cops?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and my answer to that is I think this is a situation where the city of Lansing is going to...
Yeah, I'm going to ask you that. You the attorney on the panel.
And I wanted to answer it this way. I think they're gonna give this family a check. They definitely should give this family a check. But this harkens back to what I talk about often on this show. Police officers are legally allowed to be wrong. They're legally allowed to think they have probable cause and not have probable cause. Michigan's in the Sixth Circuit. So if they file a lawsuit, because the law is set up in a way that is inadvisable, if you ask me, these officers, unfortunately, will probably still get qualified immunity if they litigated it. Now, this is a teenager. They very quickly should have realized he was not the one involved. I think there will be a settlement because of that, as there absolutely should be. But for other people who are not teenagers or who are not a part of some class that immediately draws empathy, there should be an easier road to vindicating your constitutional rights. And that's what's problematic about a case like this, because this is traumatizing. I have 3 sons. If this happened to one of my kids, they would be renaming the Lansing Police Department. But from a legal perspective, it's very hard to prosecute these cases, and this is a good example of why the law needs to be recalibrated so it is not so difficult, and so a settlement does not just become, done because of the optics.
Teresa?
I think it's shameful. I think all around it's shameful. Look, we get a mistaken identity. It happens. But I also believe there is communication that needs to take place with the officers and the community, that statement clearly said that they are trying to serve the people of the community. And what that video actually shows to me, again, I'm not saying about anybody else, but to me, it shows that the officers were speaking with the family, and then it looks like from the video that the officers then put this young man who doesn't look like he is over 13 years old inside of a car. The father clearly says he's taking the trash out. There is a dumpster located in this parking lot that shows where the car is. So to be clear, there is proper communication that could happen. There's no evidence that, even if it is a mistaken identity, where is the clothing or the theft or whatever the theft was? Where is that property? 2, you have a witness that says this is not the kid. 3, you have 5 different officers. You have handcuffs on this young gentleman. So yes, this kid is traumatized because he now feels what every black man in America feels when they are walking down the street because they have the same colored blue jeans or black jeans or white T-shirt and some Timberlands on. And it's unfortunate because if I don't think that it should be money to be thrown at it. I do think, Matt, in your legal profession, probably reach out to him. How can, they change the law under his name? But moreover, I think there has to be better communication. Like even in this video, as we're looking at 5 officers talking to the child without his parents. So again, we're wasting time not finding the person who actually did the theft instead of getting to a resolution.
Indeed. So it certainly is sad, and the reality is this is just what happens when you're black in America. Got to go to break. Come back, our last story. The brother who was wielding that chair, the Montgomery brawl, turned himself in. We'll give you those details next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a back
backlash. This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes, the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion and the subsequent trial of Tory Lanez. Megan has been treated like the villain. The experience that Megan went through is something that all Black women face when we are affected by violence. This is something that's called misogynoir.
There's a long history of characterizing Black women as inherently bad in order to justify our place in the society.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes.
Hi, my name is Freddie Ricks. I'm from Houston, Texas.
My name is Sharon Williams. I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
You have a stinger. You have a stinger. Folks, today in Montgomery, 42-year-old Reggie Gray, the brother in that video who was wielding that chair, turned himself in. He is facing a charge of disorderly conduct. He is in the Montgomery jail. This story came out about an hour and 30 minutes ago. And again, so far, that is the only charge right there. This is from Captain Jared Williams in an email to reporters. Remember, this event took place 6 days ago in Montgomery, which is a couple of hours from Birmingham on the riverfront there, where a captain moved a pontoon. They've been waiting for 45 minutes. They were trying to dock. So he moved it, and, well, the white folks whose pontoon, they got upset. They began to accost him, arguing back and forth. They began to attack him. Then a number of Black people joined in to come to his aid. This, of course, has led to lots of the conversation, debate. The five white folks who were involved, they all have been arrested as well. Gray is the only African-American who the cops are looking for. Again, as I say, he turned himself in. And these are the folks who have already been arrested and charged right here. And Matt, I'll start with you. Disorderly conduct. It's sort of like they could have charged. Look, this is Alabama. They could have charged a lot more. I think this is their way of saying, we understand what the brother was doing.
Here's the thing, Roland. I can't advertise or solicit clients, but if I happen to find myself in Alabama and Mr. Gray happened to find himself to me, I would happen to represent him pro bono, because I think every day of the week this is defense of a third person. I'm glad they haven't charged him with anything beyond disorderly conduct. I mean, the reality of it is this, right? There are reasonable minds can differ on whether the fight had come to him or whatever. But you know what I keep thinking about with this that's interesting? I keep thinking about that good guy with a gun trope, right? Because that's exactly what right-wingers say about using force in a situation where you see another person, a third person, being assaulted, right? That's why they say, oh, good guy with the gun, good guy with the gun. Well, allegedly, Reggie Gray with the chair is the same principle. There is a mass brawl going on, and this brother decided to do his part to make sure that people who were being attacked had someone fighting on their behalf. So they might be splitting the baby, so to speak, and charging him with something low. They might try to increase it later. But I really want to see what a jury would do, because I think this is a jury nullification situation every day of the week. These guys started the problem. A bunch of people jumped in, including the lady who got thrown in the water, and the 16-year-old and all these other people handled it as the way they should. And I think it's going to be a hard case to make to a jury. I mean, I think it's going to be hard for a prosecutor to prove you should look at this as a dollars and cents prosecution, because it's not that. It's one brother who was doing his job who got jumped, and then the people, as they should, came to his defense. That's what's supposed to happen.
Michael.
Yeah, Roland, it appears that he was swinging the chair in self-defense. And according to co-captain Pickett, when he was interviewed by police, he said that one of the now arrested men, who was on the boat that he wanted to move, one of the now arrested men on the boat said, "If you touch my boat, I'm going to beat your ass." So this could have been very well a good guy with a chair doing this in defense of the African-American co-captain. So I want to get more details on this. We'll see how this goes. But don't try. This is a lesson. This is a public service announcement to white people. You need to be careful, because, Trump and these MAGA people going to get a whole lot of people in trouble.
Look, this thing, Teresa, has, obviously captured the attention of people. You see, I'm rocking the shirt. I had it made. So let me shout out. First of all, let me give you the sister's name. So she's here in Birmingham. I told them, I said, listen, I'm doing my book signing. Keenan actually made the design here and got it to me. And I hit my girl Key Bennett, who's here, and iCart Designs LLC made it up. So as y'all see, I got hashtag Team Whip That Ass on the bottom, and of course we got Bring the Funk on the back. And so if y'all want to get the T-shirt, just simply go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And the thing here, look, I'm telling you right now, if nobody representing his brother pro bono, I got a feeling, Teresa, his legal fees will be taken care of.
I agree. Our former Congresswoman, Shirley Chisholm, said it the best. If they don't give you a seat at the table, then bring a folding chair. And I'm going to end on that.
That is it. All right, Matt, Michael, Teresa, I appreciate it. Folks, we're here at the Harambe Room in Birmingham. You ought to see people who are gathered here. We're going to have a book signing here discussing my book, White Fear. 6 to 8, we're going to get started probably in about 15 minutes, so looking forward to that. So if y'all are in Birmingham, come on out. We'd love to have y'all here checking us out for this great conversation. And again, so I'm here tomorrow at the Harambe Room. Tomorrow I'm speaking in Gaston, Alabama at Black Alabamans for Education. Look forward to giving that keynote address as well. And so it's all good seeing y'all here. Listen, in the second hour, so here's the deal. Don't go anywhere, because in the second hour, we have Dee Barnes, her interview with Jasmine Simpkins, talking about the Tory Lanez case. Now, Dee Barnes knows what it's like to be a woman in hip-hop, to be attacked by a hip-hop artist and not get support. She knows exactly what Megan Thee Stallion has been going through, because the same thing happened to her when she was viciously beaten by Dr. Dre. It's a conversation you do not want to miss. Of course, Dee Barnes, has a show, a weekly show here on the Black Star Network. And so I wanted to give more of y'all the opportunity to see that interview. Trust me, it's one you're going to absolutely enjoy this conversation, because it's a critically important conversation about how we as African Americans come to the aid of black women. Not just overall, but especially in hip-hop. But you still have folk who still riding with Tory Lanez, even though he even says, I'm innocent, I didn't do it. Nah, bruh. You convicted. You're going to prison for 10 years. And so it's a great conversation. You don't want to miss it. The Frequency with Dee Barnes, with Jasmine Simpkins. She covered this trial all throughout. You do not want to miss that. That is next right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla at y'all later.
Now, Now, today's show is a topic that is very, very personal for me. Just like many of you, I've lived a life full of experiences. I'm talking about the highs and the lows. And one of those lows in particular is what fueled my passion for this subject today. And this is the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion and the subsequent trial of Tory Lanez. What bothered me so much was the way Megan was treated before the trial, during the trial, and even after the trial. For those of you not familiar with the trial, Tory Lanez, rapper, R&B singer, producer, shot Megan Thee Stallion in the foot in 2020. And the trial was brought to court in just last year, 2022. And as we all know now, he was found guilty on those charges. But Megan has been treated like the villain. She's been made to be the villain in this, being mocked, being her trauma being minimized. And this experience that Megan went through is something that all Black women face, especially when we are affected by violence. This is something that's called misogynoir. This was a term that was coined by the feminist writer Moya Bailey. And basically, misogynoir is the intersection of race and gender. So it's something specifically that affects Black women. And misogyny is the, hatred, contempt for, and just prejudice against women. So misogynoir is when that misogyny is directed specifically towards Black women. And this is a subject that we're going to discuss today. I'm bringing in two journalists who wrote these incredible pieces on the case. The first one is Jamila Lemieux, who wrote an article for BET called Free Megan. And the second journalist, is Taylor Crumpton, who also wrote a piece for Harper's Bazaar on it. And she specifically had misogynoir in her title. So we're going to discuss that today and get into it because I really want to address the fact that when Black women are harmed, when Black women are subject of violence, for some reason, our trauma is not taken seriously. Our trauma is minimized, like I said earlier, and mocked. And we have to have this discussion because it needs to stop. And we can only do this as a community. So enjoy this conversation with us. And I hope by the end of it, you'll have a different perspective and understanding and empathy towards Black women and violence. All right, I want to get right into this important conversation with my first guest, Jamila. Jamila, welcome to The Frequency. Thank you for being here. I want to get right into your article because I think it was so important. You wrote it, and it was released actually right a couple of days before the verdict. And you titled it Free Megan. Why did you choose that title? And what did you mean by that?
I feel that Megan has been trapped since this incident happened. She's been trapped by the way we respond to violence against women in this country, and in particular, the way we respond to violence against Black women.
Right.
She's been subject to a lot of online abuse and harassment, rampant speculation about what indeed happened and the nature of the relationship between her and Tory Lanez, and speculation about her sexuality and her involvement with other men. And she has not been allowed to adequately grieve what happened to her at the hands of someone who was a friend. She has not been treated overwhelmingly as a victim. She's been treated as if she's done something wrong.
Right. Why do you think that when it comes to, women and Black women in particular, that we are not believed?
There's a long history of characterizing Black women as inherently bad in order to justify our place in the society, dating back to when we were enslaved, that Black women are, treated as if there's some sort of sexually aggressive, unladylike, unworthy of protection, untrustworthy. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these beliefs about us have been passed down to us as a people. And we tend to parrot some of the worst ideas and attitudes about Black women.
Do you think it falls into that old trope of Black women are strong? We're so strong that we don't need any empathy or sympathy or...
Absolutely. The trope of the strong Black woman that many of us have embraced as, a source of self-esteem and a way to survive and navigate the world, holding on to the idea that we can just simply withstand more pain than other people has done us great harm. And I think that was absolutely at play during this situation.
Yeah, it got to the point where she first put out a tweet about it's not a joke, because there were memes and jokes and so many people came forward and made fun of it. I mean, celebrities, just regular online people, a lot of harassment. And then she had another, maybe about 2-3 weeks after that, she had another post where she came online on Instagram and literally had a breakdown, to show, like, Black women have to show that they're bleeding, they're dying, there's pain, there's cry, we have to cry in order for not even to get a little bit of sympathy for us to be believed. And I think that right there goes back to what you said about how it's harming us to be perceived as strong and not perceived as, women that need, sympathy or empathy, or to be believed when we are harmed. Another thing too, I don't like the jokes that were made about her and the lines. In particular, Drake had a song that he put out, with the line about her, they even though they were trying to say that it wasn't in regards to that. I mean, it obviously was. And what do you think about that when they take our pain and make it into a punchline?
Yeah, it was absolutely disgusting for Drake to do that. He's somebody who's a more senior artist than her. He's almost a decade older than Megan. He's been in the industry a longer amount of time. He's got the reputation and the influence that he does. And for him to make light of the situation and insinuate that she was lying, or even to just joke about the fact that a lot of people believe she was lying, was really vile, and it goes back to Black women not being trusted, not being believed, because there were a lot of people who took to the internet to say that this woman was lying, that it didn't happen to her. And that was in spite of reports from doctors, that was in spite of the fact that the state of California chose to press charges against Tory Lanez. This was not a personal injury trial. Megan did not go after Tory. In fact, at the beginning of this, she protected him. Her instinct was to lie about what happened for fear that he or both of them would be harmed at the hands of the police. Like that she thought about his safety and his protection says so much when so few people have thought about her safety and her protection, as well as her mental health and her ability to recover.
Exactly. Up next, we're joined by pop culture writer Taylor Crumpton, whose article started this conversation. We'll be back.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Welcome back to The Frequency. We're discussing misogynoir, and joining me now is writer Taylor Crumpton, whose article really opened the door for this discussion, bringing up hip-hop, misogyny, and issues that face Black women overall. Welcome, Taylor.
How are you? I'm so happy to be sharing the screen with you right now. I am so honored to have you and Jamila. This is just like such an important subject. And you wrote an article right after the incident happened in 2020 in July. And I thought it was, important to have your voice on. So the title of the article, Women in Hip Hop Cannot Thrive While Misogynoir Exists. And then you put in a byline, like, the jokes about Megan Thee Stallion's traumatic shooting sheds the light on the bigger issue of misogynoir and in hip hop, and it must be eradicated. That right there. Talk to me about your article and what made you write it. When I first heard of Megan Thee Stallion's incident, my mind immediately went to the 2009 assault of Rihanna at the hands of Chris Brown. Right. Around that time, I was a teenager. I believe Facebook was the still most popular social media platforms. And that's where I first started to understand that Black women and harassing them and the vilification of them, the dehumanization of them is trendy and is popular. I was in middle school seeing and hearing rumors of why Chris Brown was deemed, I would say, almost like worthy of getting back into the good graces of the hip hop. Right. I famously remember him performing Michael Jackson at the BET Awards and Taraji P. Henson getting up and crying and almost welcoming him back to the fold. I remember that. In some change later, I have yet to see, this big cultural response, especially from hip hop. I've yet to see a BET Hip Hop Awards, a VH1 Hip Hop Awards, or a show like that kind create space for Megan, for her to feel welcome, for her to, be given the grace and compassion to be a survivor. What we have seen since she first came forward and said, hey, this happened to me. I was scared. I was afraid, has been spaces like Rolling Loud and Bright Flames. Yeah, that's exactly why I wanted you on. The misinformation that was going around with the different blogs. What do you think that could have combat that besides your voice, besides real journalists writing about it? When these rumors came from blogs, from online personalities, and even some outlets that specialize in hip hop media, the people who were combating these rumors were Black women, because we will always show up for ourselves, and the hotties, Megan Thee Stallion's fan base, because I believe Black women, we all have this cultural experience of not being believed, of not being heard, of being vilified, of being dehumanized, and being disbelieved. But the Megan Thee Stallion case was interesting because we also saw an increase of Black women personalities being on the side of lanes, right? We all saw this, I don't want to say emergence, but this presence of internalized misogynoir coming out in Black women personalities, Black women musicians that were making fun and joking of Megan's assault. I think famously, when the incident first occurred, Drea Mitchell was on a podcast and confirmed Megan Thee Stallion's assault at the hands of Tory Lanez to the interpersonal violence between Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown, and said, I want that type of love. You know, very recently, there was a TikTok video that went viral reenacting the scene from What's Love Got to Do with It when Tina is escaping abuse from Ike. Like these pop culture moments are trendy and are profitable. And it's something that we all know, but what it just reinforces is whether you have been shot in the foot, whether you have been
physically assaulted,
it's funny and it's going to make money and it's going to be profitable. So I feel that the people who came forward and had their voices were heard knew that that wasn't going to be trendy, knew that that was also going to open them up to subject and attack and critique, but would rather stand in solidarity and show that Black women are deserving in grace and compassion rather than make money making fun of Meg and already just weighing so heavily on this Black woman who was 25 at the time.
Right.
She lost her mother. She had recently lost her grandmother. So even before these unfounded rumors of, you know, it was a lover's quarrel, people were saying that Megan had sacrificed her mother, her last living parent, for fame and success. So she was already subjugated to lodge a misogynoir and false rumors online about the loss of her parent. Then this gets amplified. Right now she has the Lansing, and I think the one thing that stood out to me the most is regardless of how profitable she is to companies, to men in hip hop, that sadistic nature of misogynoir will always underroot a Black woman's accomplishments no matter what they do. Because as I said in my piece, until it is eradicated, until misogynoir is abolished, conditions and situations like this will continue to happen in the culture. And that's just civil negligence. Like that is a failure.
How do you think we can eradicate it?
I mean, how do we abolish misogyny in our culture? Right?
Exactly.
War is just an offset. It's the intersection of racism and sexism. So how can we make efforts individually and intercommunally to eradicate these structures that exist? You know, it can be as simple as, why aren't Black women journalists being paid the same rate as Black men? Why are the productions of a Black woman always devalued and not being seen as something worthy of respect?
Exactly. Can we bring Jamila back in? See, this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because I think that your writing, both your writings, was a way to battle the misinformation, the things that were going on with the blogs. I mean, right, even before the verdict was decided, they were putting out that he was found not guilty. And it's still going on to the issue of not believing Black women. Do you feel like there should be more? I mean, there's plenty of Black women journalists, but more should be heard on that subject. Do you feel like we should concentrate more on that?
Well, I wish that those were the voices that were being amplified at a time like that. You know, that Black women were the sources that were trusted and looked to talk about this. I think it is worth acknowledging that there weren't Black women representing large media outlets present for the trial, you know, that the few reporters that were in the courtroom that were talking to an audience on a regular basis about what was taking place during the trial, that a number of those Black folks that were there were bloggers, and some of them were bloggers who had an interest in defending or supporting Tory Lanez, you know, and spreading misinformation. I think the misinformation is a tremendous part of this, you know, regardless of the source, because as you said earlier, a lot of Black women are carrying around internalized misogynoir. So they're incapable of defending Megan because they are incapable of seeing her as a victim. I do wish that Black women's voices had been heard, you know, louder during this case. But I will say, you know, there was Taylor's article, there was my article, you know, I know Ivy Ani wrote about it, a number of Black women. I'm looking at the girl's book now, Shanita Hubbard, you know, yes. A lot of Black women writers did speak up and out on behalf of Megan. And a lot of us were essentially saying the same things, which we're saying every time a Black woman is harmed publicly, you know, that we're not believed, we're not trusted, we're deserving of sympathy. We're constantly left to plead for our humanity. Right.
Do you think that it would have made a difference if more Black men spoke up, more Black men, male journalists, do you think?
I wish, you know, regardless of whether they were journalists or celebrities, what was largely absent here were Black men, you know, visible Black men speaking up on behalf of Megan, you know, simply acknowledging that she had been shot, full stop. Right. You know, that was the biggest thing that mattered here. That was what was most important, that this woman had been shot. Mm-hmm. And, you know, according to people who witnessed it happen, Tory did it. Right. You know,
I think Bun B was the only one that stood up.
He was one of the few.
Maxo Cream as well stood up for Megan Thee Stallion, which I think is indicative, since, you know, you have a Houston hip hop legend, and then you have Maxo, who also was in the same, I would say, like cohort of class of Megan, of regional talents kind of like crossing over. And I thought it was fairly interesting how very shortly after the incident, those two took to social media, Bun B kind of almost acting as like a surrogate father or a father figure, saying like, Megan is from Houston. This is our girl. We will defend her. And Maxo also taking approach almost like a brother and sharing his own incident where Lanes, I guess, attempted to jump into like his car at a Jamaican restaurant in LA, which didn't go over well. And Cream was one to kind of name the gender nuances of this, where he was like, you would never do that to me, but you felt comfortable doing that to a woman, which is indicative, because even the way Lane's case with August Alsina, even Lane's case with, I believe, a member of a Love and Hip Hop franchise, there is a history and a repeated pattern of violence, yet that history was never called into question. There was no research being done on, is this an isolated incident or is this a pattern? Because in the court of public opinion, he was the one that needed to be protected. He was the one that needed to be centered. Right. And Black men, whether they did it subconsciously or consciously, gathered around him. I remember when LeBron James was in his car blasting Tory Lanez, and people said, you have a daughter. Right. What does this mean? And I think that was the distinction, whether you came from a Black woman, whether you have Black women in your life, sisters, aunts, mentors. The sadistic thing about misogynoir is that it was so rampantly at play in the culture and in celebrity that I feel like it was such an abundance that the Black women voices that were coming out, that were writing, that were advocating, reporting, always seemed to be systematically ignored and silenced. And the question, I think Jamila brought it up about Black reporters and the people who were on the scene. We saw after the trial had, ruled, Black journalists were, I still think, ignored. Like a lot of non-Black journalists were amplified. I think about Megan the reporter. She had an interview, a Q&A with BET.com about like her rise in her reporting. Yet Black users on social media critique BET for taking a stance that was read as very apolitical, that was very neutral, but also very telling that they were waiting for the trial at play, so then they could put out tweets and social media copy defending Megan Thee Stallion. And that was for a number of Black outlets and sources that we go to, that we look towards, that decided to take an apolitical stance, which inherently read as not supporting Black women when they needed it the most.
Right. Exactly. Okay, y'all. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
You're watching The Frequency. I'm Dee Barnes, and we're discussing the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion and the trial of Tory Lanez. Joining us once again is Jamila. Jamila, why did you feel someone needed to speak up for Megan?
You know, I was invited to write the article, and I had a lot of feelings about the case, so I was happy to do it. You know, I wish that I had a louder voice to speak up for Megan. You know, I wish that me writing something about it could do more. You know, again, there's been this sustained chorus of Black women voices from the beginning standing with Megan, but there are, you know, few people, it seems, that are willing to hear us. So if nothing else, if I can provide confirmation for other Black women that you're not crazy, that you're not wrong, that what you're seeing is real, what you're experiencing is real, and that we deserve better.
And you did that, and I thank you. And I know other Black women thank you too. It was important. Same question with you, Taylor. What made you, you know, sit down and write that article in particular about hip hop? Not that I don't understand personally, but please elaborate on that.
I mean, I think your presence and career is very emblematic of why I took the approach to address gendered violence in hip hop. Earlier in that summer, On the Record had released on HBO Max the documentary centering the Black women voices who were survivors of Russell Simmons' alleged sexual assault. And at the time of its release, I was in a Twitter chat with two Black women journalists, and the resounding theme was, who is going to step out and cover this? Who is going to be public about the way this documentary impacted them? And at the time of its release, in the press, Russell Simmons was the one on The Breakfast Club being interviewed by Ebro. Right. And all of the media around that time of the documentary still centered the man who allegedly was the perpetrator of the harm against these women. Mm-hmm. And it's a cycle, you know, it's a decades-long cycle. And it is heartbreaking to see with every decade, there's more Black women, and the harm that they endure always results in their absence from an industry and a culture and a genre that prides itself in only being told through a Black male lens. Right. These not even incidents, these attacks of targeted harm add to this monolithic idea that hip hop is a genre and a culture for Black men by Black men, and the eradication of women like yourself, like Drew Dixon, like even the violence that Little Kim endured by men in hip hop who were seen as stakeholders, who were seen as powerful, is very frightening as a Black woman in music, as a Black woman who loves hip hop and journalism. So whenever this first occurred, I was invited by Harper's Bazaar to write about it as someone who has seen Megan rise as a fellow Black woman from Texas. And I think I had to remind people that she is just the latest in an unfortunate legacy of Black women in music who were sacrificed for Black men to be protected in this industry. And especially at a time in 2020 where there was this, quote, rise of the woman rapper, the rise of women in hip hop. Right. And even though Megan was representative of that rise, it also quickly showed how much the industry was ready to eliminate her, was ready to eradicate her, and kind of revert back to being so male-centric.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. There you have it. I mean, we've covered it. We've covered it. And in all honesty, I think it's because of Black women and journalists in particular. If we do not voice and call out these things, you know what I mean, to hold these people accountable, I don't think anyone will. And even when there's other platforms that are trying to present it, I don't think that the perspective is on point as much as it's coming from our voice. Do you follow me what I'm saying? Like, if it wasn't for us having us, there would be no what am I trying to say? There would be no real protection. There would be no real voice for us if we did not write these, articles. If you guys did not write those articles, I don't think that people would really be, and countless other women journalists. And like Jamila was saying that, I wish they were elevated more. I wish it was louder. But I do believe, though, that they did do something. Even though you might not feel that it's a small part, I do feel like it's part of an overall bigger picture. And I feel like a lot of people were listening and could relate and could hear your voice in that it was defending something that couldn't be defended. And thinking about Megan and what she's going through, I hope she's healing, and I hope she knows that she's loved and she's surrounded by sisters that do love her. There are a lot of women out there that do support her. And then I hope that all the positive voices drown out all the negativity.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to discuss how and why Black women cover for Black men.
Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
One of the strangest things about misogynoir is that Black women are being abused by the hands of Black men. So why do Black women feel like they have to protect their abusers?
Mm-hmm. Black women are in a precarious situation when they've been harmed, by a member of their own community or someone else, because we don't have a good relationship with the police either. We can't trust them to take our needs and concerns seriously and not to react to us without violence. But I think that as a community, Black people have been very clear on the threat against Black men for many years, and we've taken it very seriously. We've wanted to protect our men from the violence of white supremacy, from the violence of law enforcement. Right. And our focused on that protection has allowed us to sacrifice the protection of Black women and girls. You know, anytime a noteworthy Black man has been accused of violence against women, Black women in particular, there's always this response from the community, for much of the community, to protect him. You know, that we don't want to see him go into the system. If he's a prominent man, we don't want to see him we don't want to see him lose all that he's fought for and all that he's, you know, succeeded and accomplished. And, you know, it is very much to our detriment that we are unwilling to be honest about, you know, the violence that some Black men perpetuate, you know?
Right. And we always get accused of tearing a Black man down. So that's one of the things that I heard continuously about it. Taylor, how do you respond to that?
Historically, Black women have been told to protect the community at the expense of themselves, to protect the Black man at the expense of themselves. Julia just eloquently, illustrated all of the individual, societal, political factors, why that belief is something that is integrated and embedded into the ethos and the ideology of the Black woman. However, there has yet to be a moment of cultural teaching. What happens when a Black woman is assaulted by a Black man? Where have been the conversations in the home about that? Where have been the conversations in a lot of Black spaces? I think Megan said she did not want to have the interaction of the state and the criminal justice system. What she is saying is, I know what happens when I, as a Black woman, report and get the state involved in something that is an interpersonal matter, when this is just between two members of the community. Because we know the criminal justice system has always historically been unfair and unjust to people of African descent, with a hyper focus on Black men. We also know that when a survivor of gun violence, when a survivor of domestic violence goes to the courts and the legal system, they are never centered. The ruling, even though it gave validity to Megan's claims, does not stop the continued harassment and violence that she will endure from members of her own community. In fact, it seems to amplify and ramp up that continued harassment and violence, because her case was not only in just the court in the state of California, it was on social media. And that seems to be a never-ending cycle where justice is never truly given. So we are in this moment of pop culture where these things are going to be archived and documented, how we're failing Black women. And as I said in my article, it is not the responsibility of Megan and her peers to do the work. Inherently, it's not the labor and responsibility of Black women journalists, of editors, of Black women with these platforms. That responsibility is on men to really internalize and interrogate and work through and process and do the labor of work of eradicating misogynoir in themselves and their communities and their stakeholders. Why was Tory Lanez so valuable and worth defending at the expense of Megan? Why did DaBaby release songs about Megan Thee Stallion and sleeping with her? Why is it okay for rappers to make music videos where a stallion's leg is being cut off? When is enough enough? When are their peers going to step in? And what we've continually to see is that because they do not deem it a problem, that interaction, that intervention is not going to come.
They don't deem it as their problem.
It's their problem. Black women did not create misogynoir. Women did not create misogyny. Those are structural forces of the patriarchy. That is their responsibility and labor to do. We should be able to just take care of ourselves. Black women deserve care and Black women deserve grace. It is not Megan's responsibility to call out every rapper that makes a line about her.
Right. I agree. And I think, it's been years since my incident, and I still see no structural change. I still see not a lot of men stepping up publicly and saying what needs to be said. It's always fallen on the shoulders of Black women. I mean, we seem to be the ones that carry the community, carry the family. And I don't know what it's going to take to change that, but I do believe that your writing, both of you, your voices, even though you think they're not being heard, they are being heard, and they are being listened to and taken into consideration. And I think this generation in particular, and what I mean by that is this whole social media thing, it's different. I mean, the things have changed, even though the things have, they seem worse for Megan with, the online harassment, the memes, the music, everything that you brought up. I think that fighting that with these articles and with platforms like this to speak up about it and holding them accountable is going to continue to help push that change, and we do need more men to speak up about it. I mean, they're fathers, they have mothers, there's sisters, they have sisters and cousins and aunts and grandmothers. And it is mind-boggling to me that they don't speak up enough, and honestly, Tory, I don't feel like he was even thought of in that way or elevated in that way until he harmed this Black woman. And all of a sudden it became like he, we have to rally around him, and they didn't rally around Megan. So I don't know what it's going to take to change it, but I am glad that we are having this discussion about it. And like I said earlier, I hope, if Megan sees this, I hope she's healing. I hope she knows she's loved and supported. And, when she's ready to come back, we're going to welcome her with open arms. Thank you both. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming on here and speaking truth to power. Because like I said earlier, we've all we've got, and if Black women don't stand up for each other, I don't think that anybody's going to stand up for us. So thank you.
When we come back, my closing thoughts.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Before we go, I'd like to read something that I wrote. I think it's very important, and it really drives home the subject of what we discussed today. Okay, so bear with me, all right? Black women are the victims of a unique intersectional oppression. Megan's experience of not being believed, being mocked, and her harm being minimized is something that is shared by many Black women. This failure to protect Black women needs to change. Victims of abuse should not have to be continuously harassed for speaking out. How do we spread awareness? By having these important conversations. Until we are all holding each other accountable for making light of these serious and life-alternating events, then nothing will change. I'm speaking from my experience. I'm speaking from your experience. And I want you guys to really think about it the next time a woman in your life is harmed. Think about it carefully. I want you to really, really have empathy for what they're going through, and try to show support. Believe women, believe Black women. Thank you for tuning into The Frequency right here on the Black Star Network. I'll catch you next time. We out.